Ciao Fabri, welcome back in our podcast.
Ciao guys.
It's a special week because it's World Cup draw week. We'll be talking about the World Cup and what will come out of the draw a lot in the next month. But let's start talking about 10 players to watch, 10 situations to watch ahead of the draw, ahead of the World Cup. And we start with Germany because there is a new talent. We're talking about Lennart Karl. And so what do you expect from him in the coming month?
Yeah, I think with Lennart Karl is going to be one of the most interesting situations to follow in the upcoming months, because probably sometimes this happens, no, in a World Cup year. Maybe the coach of any national team can already have in mind, especially in terms of attackers, which players he wants to bring to the World Cup, and then a new talent comes on stage and things can change. And I think this is the case with Lennart Karl. Julian Nagelsmann will take into serious consideration the performances of the Bayern winger in the upcoming months. He's doing fantastic. He scored already 2 goals in the Champions League in 2 starts. He's scoring in the Bundesliga. He's showing his quality, 17 years old, so he's super young. And again, it's not easy, obviously, with Nagelsmann having already several players, top players up front, to find the space for Lennart Karl. But he's going to think about that. Karl will fight for his spot. Let's see how in the next months his career at Bayern will continue. But I'm sure that from now to March, this is going to be a big topic for Germany. And I think a very interesting one also for the World Cup. Imagine having another wonder kid like Lennart Karl to the World Cup 2026 would be special for sure.
Let's now talk about France, because France, they were the winners in 2018, the finalists, what a final also in 2022. So among the favorites, of course, in 2026, let's see what happened, but also what's the plan for the future after the World Cup?
Yeah, let's say that France already prepared their future. They want to focus obviously on the present, on this World Cup. As you mentioned, they already got one of the last 2. They got a fantastic final against Messi's Argentina. So now for France it's a big moment. They believe that this generation can produce another fantastic World Cup under Didier Deschamps. But then after that, in the end of July 2026, so after the World Cup will be game over for Didier Deschamps. He already decided to leave his job at France. Again, now the focus obviously of the players, of the staff, of the coach, of the federation is on this World Cup. But after that, they already prepared the future because there is a verbal agreement almost done with Zinedine Zidane. So they believe from the French national team that Zidane will be the next coach of the national team. There is still nothing signed. And so we always have to keep doors open because in football anything can happen. What we can guarantee is that Deschamps will leave his job at the end of the World Cup. And there is a very good feeling between Zidane and France. Zidane believes that this would be the perfect job for his future. But again, let's see what happens. Never say never in football. But this idea of bringing back Zinedine Zidane to the national team is something that is more than concrete into the federation.
Let's now talk about another, probably one of the most likely ending up in potentially winning the World Cup. I'm talking about Spain, a fantastic team full of talents, not only Lamine Yamal, but also many others. But in particular, what do you think about the position of the striker? Because in the last years, there were many options, also different ones, different approaches. So who do you think is going to be the striker for Spain?
Yeah, that's a very important topic ahead of the World Cup. I think a situation that we will have to follow closely in the upcoming months from now to the beginning of the World Cup, because now the coach Luis de la Fuente loves to play with a false 9. So with Oyarzabal, who is doing fantastic, one of the most underrated players around. He's always producing in terms of goals, assists with the national team and with Real Sociedad. But it's also important to mention that in this case, for Spain, the topic is about the center striker. There is Ferran Torres who can play there. Sometimes he's also testing Borja Iglesias, 32 years old. The real news we have from the latest months is that with Alvaro Morata, one of the captains of the Spanish national team, the situation is quite complicated. He's not starting at Como anymore. It's not an easy moment for Morata. And so we have to see if he's going to make it to the World Cup or not. But at the moment, it's not easy at all. There is Samu Aguiova from Porto who can be the next big thing for Spain, but at the moment the idea of Luis de la Fuente is Oyarzabal as a false 9, so I think the striker topic for Spain is going to be one of the interesting ones to follow in the upcoming months.
Let's now talk about the current title holders and talking about Argentina. Of course, Lionel Messi, the big topic at the World Cup 2026 after he extended the deal with Inter Miami. Will he be at the World Cup, and what's the expectation around him?
Yeah, this is probably the big question for the upcoming months about Leo Messi. Obviously, he's keeping that open. Messi keeps repeating also when I had the big luck to interview him about this desire to wait a bit to understand in what kind of shape he will arrive ahead of the World Cup. So Messi wants to get there in the best condition possible. He will only be at the World Cup if he feels really good and if he feels he can make the difference for Argentina. My feeling from the technical staff of Lionel Scaloni, from the Argentinian Federation, from the teammates of Leo Messi, is that there is a very good chance to see Messi making it to the World Cup. But at the end, the final say, the final green light is only from one man. It is only from Leo Messi. So it's him who has to decide, who has to communicate. Let's wait and respect that. But the feeling into Argentina group is that they really hope Messi will be there, and they believe there is a very good chance.
From probably one of the best players, no, not probably, one of the best players in the history of football to another gem, an Argentinian gem, and talking about Nico Paz, one of the best players we have right now in Europe and Italian Serie A. Do you expect him to be in the roster of Lionel Scaloni?
I think there is a very good chance also in this case. Nico Paz is doing fantastic at Como, and this is a good link also with the market, because we had some rumors in the recent days about coming from South America about Nico Paz maybe going back to Real Madrid already in the January window, and the answer I got from people close to this deal is no, it's not happening in January. It's very likely to happen in the summer. We say that on our podcast here on Men in Blazers also in the recent episodes. I expect Nico Paz to be the first signing for Real Madrid in 2026, but for the summer. Not in January, also because Nico Paz at Como is the superstar. He's playing every single game. He's probably one of the 2-3 best players in the Serie A. He's always delivering, and so Nico doesn't want to change this positive moment he has at Como. Going to another club in January, you need to adapt immediately. That could be dangerous for the World Cup spot. So Nico is doing everything possible to develop, to grow, to make sure his future is going to be at Real Madrid, but also to make sure the World Cup spot is safe. And staying at Como is part of this plan. So I think there is a very, very good chance to see Nico Paz being part of the squad. And I think he deserves, because we are based here in Italy and we know how fantastic, how special is this player.
If we talk about Argentina, we have to talk about Brazil, of course. They're one of the other big stars, big players and big teams, of course, in the tournament. Talking about the players, we know the situation of Endrick. You are explaining us every week, basically, here in the podcast. Do you expect him to be part of the roster of Carlo Ancelotti next summer?
He will have the chance to compete for that. Look, if Endrick is going to Olympique Lyon, as I believe at the beginning of January, so in few weeks, already on the 1st of January, already in Lyon, on loan from Real Madrid, is because obviously he wants to grow, develop, but also because he wants to fight for a place into Ancelotti's squad for the World Cup 26. So Endrick is going to try his best, score as many goals as possible, improve, do his best for Olympique Lyon, and try to change the situation. He was not even called up in the recent games for Brazil, obviously, because he's not playing for Real Madrid. He was unlucky with an injury in the summer. Now was a technical choice by Xabi Alonso in the recent months. They also have a lot of players up front, so it's not easy to find the space. But Endrick is going on loan, and that's probably the best message possible to Ancelotti. Like, give me a chance, look at my performances, and let's see if and how Endrick will deliver with Lyon.
And what about another Brazilian star? I'm talking about Neymar Jr. Will he be at the World Cup? There is still a chance or not anymore?
Look, I think Neymar is doing something more than special for Santos in this moment. They are in the relegation battle, and Neymar is playing with an injury. He has a meniscus injury. The medical staff was also consulting Neymar about the possibility of surgery or something like that, and he wanted to play for Santos at the best level possible, not putting his health in danger, but still doing his best for Santos, delivering goals, assists, leadership. So Neymar is really showing not only his quality, we know that, but also his passion, his intention to do his best for his club, and in the next months also for the national team. So now the most important thing for Neymar is to be fit. Carlo Ancelotti wants to see Neymar fit in order to make a decision for the World Cup. Neymar will try for sure. That's guaranteed. He's also discussing a new contract with Santos. I think Santos will start talks soon as soon as they are safe from this relegation battle with Neymar over a new contract. And at that stage, that's going to be important to understand also where Neymar plays in the next 6 months to make sure he has the opportunity to show Ancelotti he's ready and fit for the World Cup. I think if Neymar is fit, he's going to be part of the squad.
As you're mentioning, injuries are always part of the World Cup and the road to the World Cup, especially. Let's now move to England and an injured player, Trent Alexander-Arnold. These days news is that he's injured for a long time. So do you see Thomas Tuchel waiting for him or not?
Yeah, Trent's situation was not easy because he was not even called up in the recent games for England by Thomas Tuchel. Now this injury, 2 months out, he's going to be out of action for some time, and in a good moment for Trent because he delivered a beautiful assist to Kylian Mbappé against Athletic Bilbao. He was doing quite well in the recent weeks, so he was starting to adapt to new football, new city, new club, different pressure at Real Madrid. But now Trent is injured, so March will be an important moment to see how Trent will recover from this injury. February he will be back. February, March, important moments also for the Champions League to deliver the best out of Trent Alexander-Arnold. He will still fight for that. Trent still believes he has a chance to go to the World Cup. He wants to make it to the World Cup. Now, it's not an easy situation, but for sure Trent will fight for it. And let's see what Tuchel will decide. I think the recovery from this injury will be really important to show the quality once again of Trent Alexander-Arnold. Again, it was a shame because he was now getting in the best condition possible, but I'm sure he will fight till the very end.
Talking about England, the Three Lions, the situation now looks completely different between Jude Bellingham and Phil Foden.
Yeah, that was another topic of September, October, these international breaks we had in this first half of the season. And Phil Foden completely changed the status. Phil Foden is delivering goals, assists, already 11 for Manchester City this season. He's showing his quality for Pep Guardiola, and Pep in the press conference was quite nice with Phil Foden, saying, I told you, he's back, he's finally back, and now the message is clear from the player, clear from the coach. This version of Phil Foden will be at the World Cup for sure. Jude Bellingham is not in the best moment possible, but again, all people close to Thomas Tuchel are convinced that at the end, Jude Bellingham will be an important player for the English national team. I think Jude Bellingham absolutely deserves to be part of the England national team for the World Cup. So again, they have several players in that position. There is Cole Palmer back from his injury. There is Morgan Rogers, who is doing fantastic at Aston Villa, and he's an important player for Tuchel. But at the same time, Foden and Bellingham, I'm sure, compared to September, when they had injuries, when they had a difficult moment, I think both of them will fight and make it to the World Cup.
Last one for today's episode on the World Cup draw. We have to finish with Italy. We are both Italians, of course. We are a bit disappointed because we won't be part of the draw. Let's see if we will be part of the World Cup, but at least there is some good news coming from the attack.
Yeah, finally for Italy, there is this playoff, obviously, for Italy, for Sweden, for Turkey, for 7 national teams, and we will be following that to understand who's going to make it for the final 6 spots for the World Cup. But for Italy, the good news is coming from the attacking positions, because finally there is some fresh air around the attacking positions at Italy. Of course, they have Matteo Retegui, Moise Kean, who are delivering with their clubs, and so it's going to be important to have them for the playoffs. But also Francesco Pio Esposito from Inter. He recently won the Italian Golden Boy Award, scoring for Inter, scoring for the Italian national team, trusted by Gennaro Gattuso. So Italy are trying to refresh their squad, to bring in new players, and that's going to be super important for the playoffs. Obviously for Italy, after missing on the last 2 World Cups, this one is an opportunity they can't miss, and Esposito will be part of the squad. He's doing very well for Inter, so the excitement from Italy is here. We hope to be at the World Cup, but the playoffs are going to be super important again for Italy, for Sweden, for Turkey, for all these countries competing, and we'll be following also that
Very closely. Thank you, Fabri, for that, and see you soon.
Thank you. See you soon. Ciao.